See, we're looking good. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Holistic Health Class with Professor X. Like I said, I'm going to bring back the wealth classes as needed. A lot of y'all know me from my wealth classes. Um, I want to switch and pivot to holistic health right now. I feel like that's something that is in my energy, and a lot of people want to know about it. It's a super, super important aspect of our lives to make sure that we're able to self-regulate and heal without, the guide of a doctor, without the guide of, you know, somebody in the industry. You feel me? That this like it's a kind of hit or miss type of deal when you go to the doctor. I have a lot of negative experiences at the doctor, more negative experiences than positive. And not because of fear, it's just because they don't they don't function properly all the time, and it's almost like you can't blame them. I work in healthcare myself. I'm a nurse, so I completely understand it. But the system does not put nurses, doctors, any type of healthcare professional. The system does not really put them in a position to truly be able to help the patient. And there's also a shortage. It's not enough. So if you go to the hospital, more than likely you're gonna have a negative experience unless you're just on some in and out shit. If you're truly sick and you need to be at the hospital for a prolonged stay, you're 100% gonna experience something negative, and hopefully it doesn't break you. Um, but that's just a little sidebar about my background, how I relate to health. This specific class, we're going to talk about hydration, and we're going to talk about why nobody really understands hydration and different properties of water. Water is super important. Our bodies are 75% water. We're going to get into all of that. And I want to talk about minerals and how minerals are super duper important to our body's ability to conduct electricity. We always talk about our aura and our electromagnetic field. Well, even though all of that is being projected outwards, it's coming from electrical activity within inside your body. And you need different minerals and ions to facilitate that conductivity. So we're going to get into that as well. If anybody has any questions before we start, the DMs are always open. Not the DM, but the chat is always open. Well, my DM is always open too. Y'all can hit me up anytime. I talk to some of y'all frequently. But any questions before we start? Then we're gonna get right into it. Yeah. Make sure you have your notes, paper and pen. Where my light at? Oh, hmm. Let's see if this helps. Mm. Put this up here. Mm. Well, never mind. I don't have a charger for it. It's gonna die, so I'll just turn it off right now. All right. Other than that, we'll get right into it. First, I want to talk about hydration. Hydration is super, super duper, 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 OD, extra, ultra important. Like I'm not, I'm not joshing you when I say that. And I know that's kind of expected. That's everybody knows hydration is important, but I want to emphasize the importance of hydration because nobody is hydrated. nobody, nobody is really hydrated, and it's super important that we get hydrated. Now, most people think hydration is drinking water, and that's only half of it, right? It doesn't matter if you drink water, it doesn't matter how much water you drink. If your body cannot hold on to that water or regulate that water properly, you are fucked. You're going to die. Um, without certain minerals, without certain micronutrients, you're truly going to be stuck. And we can undo that super easily. I hydrate mostly with coffee, law, but I also use salt for my water. Need that salt. Exactly. Salt is super, super important. Salt, they kind of demonize salt in the media, but you need salt to survive. There is not a single element. on the periodic table, well, that's a lie. But most of the elements that they deem as negative or causing problems for you, you actually need them to some degree. Maybe not in excess, but you need them. Certain elements that kind of get a bad rep. Chlorine gets a bad rep because it creates toxic gases. But in a on a micro level, you really need chlorine to regulate your hydration, right? You also need sodium. Said Celtic salt. Do you use? I use Himalayan salt, pink Himalayan salt, but Celtic salt is cool too. Sea salt. Um, just don't get the I don't even know what it's called. It's like the little dainty salt. It kind of tastes funny. Don't get that salt. Some salt brands have heavy metals in them too, so you want to make sure you're getting your salt from a trusted source. But chlorine, like I said, chlorine gets a bad rep. Sulfur gets a bad rep. Um, what else gets a bad rep? Oxygen kind of gets a bad rep too, and I know that's kind of crazy, but that's more so amongst you know doctor and like professional circles. Oxygen kind of gets a bad rep. The masses, the regular general public, people don't really understand that oxygen can be bad for you, and we'll probably talk about that maybe today, maybe in another class. But oxygen can be harmful for you. Oxygen is actually the number one thing that causes death over a prolonged period of time. Oxygen is the thing that causes rot. It causes oxidation. So, when you see your flesh rotting, when you're dead, or you see some old food rotting, that's happening because of oxygen. Um, use sulfur a lot. Yeah, sulfur is important. Um, what else? What other elements get a bad rep? Sodium gets a bad rep, and you really need sodium a lot. Um, what other elements get a bad rep? Off the top of my head, those are the ones, right? And even fluorine gets a bad rep too. People most commonly know fluorine as its ion fluoride, and fluoride can be, it's hit or miss. Fluoride can be bad for you, but your body needs fluorine to survive. And I want to emphasize the importance of these elements because your body is made up of, I don't know exactly how many elements, it's like 10 to 30 elements, maybe more, but each one of those elements is pivotal. You know what I'm saying? Like if chlorine didn't exist, no life on earth would be possible. If sodium didn't exist, no life on earth would be possible. So I need you to understand, like, don't fall into the trap. They'll put you on a certain diet or tell you to be on, a no sodium diet. That's stupid. They'll tell you to do certain things to your body that don't really benefit you. Really, what you need is balance. That's what you need. Your body functions and thrives off of balance. If you cannot find balance, then you're cooked. But if you can find balance, and you can more or less eat whatever you want to. Me personally, I'm a ultra health freak, so I don't eat whatever I want to. I eat pretty specific things, but you don't have to be like me. You could truly enjoy yourself, enjoy your life, and eat what you want to. That's like a big thing amongst the masses. People want to feel free, and food is one of the things that makes people feel the freest. Enjoying good food. And we live in such a time to be alive where we could have almost any food that we want to. We just got to walk down the street to get it. um and that's a blessing, but it can be a curse as well. I don't even know the true statistic. I think it's around 50 to 70% of all Americans are obese. And if it's not 70 yet, it will be in about 20 to 30 years. you know um what else? 50 to, I know, I think 70% of all people in the United States have a chronic illness. 75%, 70 to 75% of people have a chronic illness, and that's fucking ridiculous. Or let me emphasize, it's 70% of adults, not people necessarily. Most kids don't have chronic illnesses yet, but from 18 to 60, that's where the chronic illness window is. And don't think that since you're young, you're somehow, you know you're not able to get a chronic illness. They tried to diagnose me with a chronic illness when I was 18, but I ended up changing my life, so I didn't show symptoms of that chronic illness anymore. Um, yeah, chronic illness girly here. Share what you have if you're willing to. It's super important to educate ourselves on chronic illnesses because honestly, most chronic illnesses are not like it's not when we see illness, we think of something that is making us sick. We think of something that is making us sick, but most chronic illnesses are just the body's response to some sort of deficiency or some sort of overload, right? It's just a bodily response at the end of the day. It's not like a viral or an infection where it's like there's actually something making you sick that, you know, came from external. You have to fight this thing off. Like that's not most chronic illnesses are literally just your body trying to adapt to the bullshit that you've done to it. Uh, I had autoimmune and issues with my vagus nerve. I had an infection at the base of my brain. Wow. How'd you overcome that? I do not have these chronic issues anymore. Extreme lifestyle changes, exercise, and diet. Yeah, diet is super important. Exercise is super important as well. Um, I wanted to talk about circulation a little bit in this class too, but if we don't have time, we will later. But you know, walking around and getting exercise is super duper important. We'll just say that sidebar right now. The number one thing, they just figured this out within the last like 5 to 10 years, but the number one indicator that somebody's health is going to go downhill is whether they have um what's the muscle, I forget what the muscle's called. It's the muscle on your thigh. The muscle on your thigh. I had a brain fart. But the number one indicator of whether you will have good health in life is whether you use your legs. Basically, if you cannot use your legs, you will get sick. Period. Trust me. I work in a post-acute facility. It's kind of like a nursing home for sick people, and all of these people are bedbound. They're bedridden and they can't walk. They can't get up, and they are dying slowly. And I see it every day. It's really unfortunate, right? Um, How I overcame it, it was slow, took a few years. It was also the start of my holistic journey. Mine's too. When they tried to hit me with the chronic illness, that was me. Like I snapped right into holistic mode because I already kind of knew the game. I was already hip to, different people like Dr. Sebi um, early on. Like I was like 15, but I never really mobilized that into action until I was like 19. But I had a lot of health problems in between. Possible fibro, fibromyalgia, myalgia, fibromyalgia, um, endometriosis, stage 2, adenomyosis, reoccurring large cysts in the ovary, stuck scar tissue in the body. From what I can tell, it sounds like you need hormone balancing. You need to balance your hormones. Um, anything dealing with the kind of adrenals and your uterus area, it's always going to be because of some sort of hormone deficiency or hormone overload at that. You could have thyroid issues too. I would look into it. Yes, hormones have been damaged since puberty, and that's unfortunate. I would the best thing you could do for hormones is to make sure that you're eating a balanced diet. Literally, it's so simple, but it's so hard for some people. Make sure you're eating the proper amount of fats in a day, and that you are exercising daily. Um, Make sure that you are drinking a lot of water and getting enough protein as well. Most of our hormones are made out of proteins and fats. So if you can get those two things in, your body doesn't really have any reason to go off the rails in terms of hormones unless you have some sort of uh, hormone disrupting chemical in your environment. Fat is very important. That's how your hormones are built. Exactly. Um, you know, most of the sex hormones, I believe, are fatty. Some of them are protein, but I believe most are fatty. My thyroid cancer was in my throat for so long, it solidified into a rock. That is crazy. Wow. Did you overcome that, or are you still battling that? You said was, so I'm assuming that you overcame that. I commend you for overcoming that. Those are super, super world life changing problems. Um, so I hope that you did overcome that. But back to what we were saying, right? It's important to recognize that all of these elements that the body is made up of are important. They each hold their place, but the body is a delicate machine. You have to make sure that you're getting balance and doing things in the right order, right? Um, let's talk about a little bit more about hydration, and then we'll get into different properties of water, and we'll bust some water myths as well. A lot of people don't understand water because there's a lot of misinformation around water. But like I said, um, water in your body, when you consume water, it doesn't matter if you are drinking the water if your body cannot hold on to that water. Now, how does your body hold on to water? Your body holds on to water through something called a phospholipid membrane, right? But the membrane only protects your cells. Your cells are what hold on to the water. Your membrane only separates the fluids outside of your cells from the fluids inside of your cells. So when you're talking about hydration, you're really talking about the extracellular matrix, or what we call the extracellular fluid, right? If your extracellular fluid has too much sodium in it, the water is going to be sucked out of your cells. And if your extracellular fluid has not enough sodium in it, then the water is going to um, rush into your cells, right? Now, what you really want is to be isotonic, right? You want isotonic just means that you have a balance of sodium and different ions on the outside of your cells and on the inside of your cells. Your body kind of regulates this on its own, but if you don't have a constant supply of sodium or a constant supply of water, you will, suffer. Your body will kind of be, it'll be difficult for your body to maintain this isotonic state. Um, Let me read the chat. Luckily, it was stage 1 papillary thyroid cancer. So yes, I'm officially cancer free for 2 years now after surgery. That's really good. I'm proud of you. Um, yeah, water is super important. Water will literally, I mean, one of the properties of water that I'm gonna get into later is the fact that water, even though water evaporates somewhat easily, um, water can maintain its temperature for a pretty long time. So even though our bodies have water in them, we don't just evaporate when it gets hot because we have different systems that can cool us off. And a part of that is, like I said, having the proper sodium balance and ion balance. When you drink water as well, you're drinking different minerals in that water. Now, when we talk about circulation and when we talk about the electromagnetic field, the minerals in your water, the minerals in your food, all of these minerals help facilitate electronic messages throughout your body. So this is your nervous system, right? Every electrical impulse in your body is being facilitated by these minerals, right? Some minerals are phosphorus, not phosphorus, potassium, calcium. Um, there's another one, magnesium. There's another one, sodium. There's another one, copper. Um, even gold. Like these things help facilitate electron transport throughout your body. So, if you don't have the proper potassium, for example, your body's not going to be able to send the proper electronic messages, right? Like this, what I'm doing right now, this is a product of an electronic message. My body is sending electricity to a certain point in my body, and it's triggering movement. If you can't have the proper minerals, your body will just send the messages to send the electricity everywhere, or it will send it not at all. A big part of that is also making sure you're getting vitamin B. A lot of people, especially vegans like me, don't understand vitamin B12. You need vitamin B12 because the myelin sheets on your nerve endings are made of vitamin B12. So if you're not getting vitamin B12, you're gonna get nerve damage within like a few months. Um, Trust me, ask me how I know, right? It happened to me. When I was like 18, that happened to me because I wasn't eating the proper diet as a vegan. Um, Now, you said niacin, gold, yeah. 85 minerals in that stuff, including copper, silver, exactly. Most of the minerals are just trace minerals too. Most of the minerals are required for maybe like 10 bodily functions out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of bodily functions. But you still need it. you still need it. So make sure you're getting your minerals. It's super easy to get minerals, honestly. Take either eat a balanced diet or take a multivitamin. I take a multivitamin, I also eat a balanced diet. Vitamins do not replace a balanced diet. They only supplement you and give you extra, right? That's I like to live in excess, so I like to have a balanced diet on top of. You said the thing is there are so many names to the vitamins: B3, niacin, niacinamide. I'm sorry, my naming is like subpar. NAD plus, NAD minus, etc. Like you need to learn the different languages. Yeah, for sure. And it's like most of those that you just said too, your body actually makes those. Um, but if you need to be supplemented, you need to be supplements. You know what I'm saying? Like your body makes NAD pretty easily. Your body makes NAD plus from NAD. Um, even like CoQ10, that's a big popular one right now. CoQ10, uh, I believe it's a coenzyme. It is uh, a facilitator in our ability to create energy, right? In our mitochondria. That's a big supplement right now because it helps you boost your energy and also helps you store more energy. But your body makes that on its own. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to eat a balanced and healthy diet, you don't need to supplement. But I still advise supplementing. I'm a little bit addicted to niacin. I really like that flushing effect. Not sure why. It gives me a lot of energy. That's good. Just don't take it too much. Don't take it too far. Yeah, the tryptophan makes supports to make B3. That's a fact. You know ball, Z Run. You know ball. Who are you? Um, yeah, like we were saying, the minerals are super important. Um, but finishing up on hydration, make sure every time you drink water, make sure you're having some, either you're drinking the water with a meal that has salt in it, or you can put salt in your water just a little bit, not too much. This will help make sure that you are receiving the proper minerals in your water intake. If you do not, like I said, you're going to be dehydrated even if you do drink water. Dehydration is a big problem within our society, and it's one of the main things that leads to things like mental illness. Like in early age, a lot of old people don't drink water. This can lead to dementia and things like that. Trust me, my grandfather only drank coffee. He only drank coffee. He died of dementia like last year, 2 years ago. He didn't die of dementia. He died of a fall, but he had dementia. They go hand in hand. When you lose cognitive function, you start acting silly, and he was acting out. Um, Said always temperance, peptides are also important. I use collagen peptide along with bone marrow. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Peptides are super important. You want to make sure that you're getting your protein. Like I said, I'm vegan and I have to make special arrangements for my protein. I'm not one of those vegans or holistic teachers that's going to tell you that protein is a myth. Protein is not a myth. The way we understand protein, I'll probably do a class about protein as well. The way we understand protein is not correct, especially in the masses. But nonetheless, you still need protein, right? Um, Lion's mane is good too. Turkey tail, chaga for the brain support. Yeah, I used to use those, all of those. I have other health issues, solving them bit by bit too. Oh, that's why you know so much. You had to deal with chronic fatigue. Whenever you had a little bit of energy, you went straight to the studying and applying knowledge. I used to be heavily bed bound, doing better now, bit by bit. That's good, bro, and I'm proud of you. A lot of people in this server were like had some sort of, you know, bed bound illness. I talked to a lot of people in the server, so I'm really glad that you guys have come to this server and you have people to help you. I'm probably the best person to help you with things like that. But even like Yahoo, he has a lot of herbal knowledge and skills that can help you build yourself back up from illness. You know what I'm saying? But on the more like scientific level, I can get you in depth. So anything that y'all are dealing with in terms of health, bring it to me. But I'm proud of you for learning and studying. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people when they get sick, they don't do that. They just take it to the chin and they complain about life as if they're not the ones who put them in that situation. Even if you had some sort of spontaneous illness and you didn't put yourself in that situation, you should still try and learn. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm proud of I'm not gonna name her, but there's a person in this server who has been severely bedbound. She has an autoimmune disorder, and she dedicated herself to studying. Like I had a few conversations with her, and she's trying to learn as much as possible so that she can, get herself out of her situation because you can. Autoimmune disorders are kind of one of the more elusive disorders and diseases amongst humanity right now, but it's not incurable. Modern minded medicine, they don't have a cure for it, but we all know the cure. The cure is literally to live right and according to your body. This is why you have to study and learn your body. You have to study other people's bodies as well. This is where we have biological sciences so that you can study the kind of average of what everything is, but you are a specific, unique being. So, you need to cater to you. And that's why I advise everybody to, learn as much as possible. It's been scary when you lose your eyebrow, lose 20 pounds within weeks with autoimmune from black mold exposure. You learn and you take your health seriously when you have an event like that. Yeah, similar happened to me, but it wasn't because of black mold. That's crazy too. I didn't know black mold got you like that. I knew black mold was dangerous. I feel like the effects of black mold vary. Like I've heard of all sorts of stories from black mold, but um, yeah, closing out on sodium. Make sure you're getting your sodium. I want to talk about some of the properties of water now. There's a kind of a big myth in the holistic realm that water is somehow subpar and that you need to take special or you need to drink special forms of water to get your hydration. And this has truth to it, but it's not true necessarily. A big thing within our community is H3O. A lot of people talk about H3O, saying you need to drink H3O instead of H2O because it's more hydrating. And that's not really true. H3O is actually acid. H3O is acid, quite frankly. It's a light acid. It's not a strong acid, but you say H3O is something else. I've never had it. Um, no, H3O chemically is acid. And, drinking that, you don't have to drink that. If you drink H2O, it's like that fruit juice hydration or that H3O2. Um, same thing, same thing. Um, H3O2 is uh it's kind of it's a compound that's made when you're digesting things, right? So you don't need to drink H3O2. Um, you need to just drink H2O. Just drink H2O. Some fruits do have H3O2. I'm not gonna say that it's more hydrating than anything else. Technically it's more uh technically you could say it's more hydrating because you have instead of H2O, you have H3O2. So you're going to get more of the ingredients to make water. You know what I'm saying? But even then, it's not complete. H3O2 is not two complete water molecules. And H3O2 is still something chemically different than H2O. Your body functions off of H2O, right? But it also has different um, I guess you could say substituents like H3O. I mean, H2O has many different forms in the body. You know what I'm saying? H2O has kind of a different, depending on how it's charged, it's going to take a more of a crystalline form or it's going to be more of a, fluid form. Water can manifest in different ways in the body. Um, and it all depends on the charge of the water. When I say charge, I just mean it's electric charge. Your body goes through different chemical processes and exchanges charges. So you could take a H2O and it can be slightly negative on one side, slightly positive on one side, and then different uh, different chemical processes happen in your body that makes that H2O more negative or makes it slightly more positive. These things affect the way the water molecules join together in your body, and it'll affect the structure of your extracellular matrix or your extracellular fluid, and that'll determine what can even exist in that fluid. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, ions and minerals. If everything in your body sits in water, pretty much, that's why you're 75% water. if everything sits in water, but the water in your body is slightly negative, then only certain minerals and ions are going to be able to function within that slightly negative environment. Or if your water in your body is slightly positive, only certain minerals are going to be able to function within that environment. And that's why different parts of your body actually have different charges. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the for example, this isn't spot on, but the water in your liver, right? Your liver cells. I don't know what type of tissue that is. I forgot. I'm still studying, but the water in your liver cells. Let's say that they're slightly uh, positive. Let's say that they're slightly positive. Only certain minerals and things are going to be able to thrive in that environment. Um, the liver is super important to your body. So you want to make sure your body's going to naturally regulate these charges anyway. This is not anything that you have to worry about as long as you're generally healthy. But, you know, if you are sick to some degree or you have an illness, it's really important to look at those things. You know what I'm saying? The charge of the fluids in certain parts of your body. Each part of your body has a different pH, has a different charge. You know, these things are regulated by the body, like I said, but they can cause problems if not regulated properly. So you want to make sure that your regulation is right. This is actually in a book that I'm reading right now. It's about the extracellular matrix. I'll probably drop a few gems from that book in this class as I finish that book up. But the body is a self-sustaining machine. The only reason why you would not be regulating properly is because you're not living right or there's something bad in your environment. Um, the one of the main theses from that book that I'm reading is the fact that human beings, no organism truly is an island. You know what I'm saying? Modern medicine treats us like we're an island or like we are somehow separate from our environment, and that's not true. The same way the fish uses the ocean to get minerals, you know what I'm saying? Like a fish doesn't have to eat any minerals or anything like that. Minerals and salts and things like that pass through the fish just because they live in a salty mineral filled environment. It's the same for human beings. So in that way, the environment is a part of our system. You know what I'm saying? The environment is kind of like a extra extra sensory system that is important to the maintenance of our internal systems. When it comes to regulation pH, regulation of ions, and regulation of minerals, regulation of everything that goes on with inside our body. Basically, the environment is going to play into that. What's up, Yahoo? The big thing I just need to be careful about is be keeping water in me. Sodium. I am majorly carnivore. We are one of our we are one with our environment. All food, water you get comes from nature itself. People are not separate. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Just somebody being around me will affect the state of my extracellular matrix. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like they're giving off certain hormones, they're giving off certain uh, you know, minerals and elements into my atmosphere I'm going to retain those. You know what I'm saying? Um, you also got to look at it from the perspective of, let's look at like a bacteria or any kind of semi-intelligent life form. Um, there's a theory that these things don't just manifest in their environments. They seeked out their environments actively. You know what I'm saying? So a germ is not going to settle. A parasite is not going to settle until it gets to the environment that it wants to be in. So this kind of changes the perception, which is kind of a Western perception that the body, that the parasite is what makes the body wrong. I'm sorry, the parasite is what makes the body malnourished. The parasite is what makes the body, have a subpar environment. That's not true. The environment comes before the thing comes, and that's not what they really teach in medicine. I need some water, bro. I don't have any water. I'm slacking. Um, but yeah, we can get back to what we talking about. We were talking about the properties of water. Let's finish up on H3O real quick. H3O, I want to say that again. H3O is not what people think it is. um, and it's important to know these things. H3O is acid. H3O2 is what is H3O2? I don't think H3O is an acid. I mean H3O2 is an acid. It's probably kind of neutral pH, but I'm gonna have to look into that. I wanted to swim in that pool Dr. Sebi talked about in Honduras. 8 to 10 pH says it heals people. That's something I want to talk about as well, bro. Um, that's something I want to talk about as well. pH. People don't understand pH either. um, I would talk about that in another class dedicated for that, but we're gonna touch on it a little bit right now. pH is not what people think it is. People think that you need to have an 8 to 10 pH system, and you're gonna die. Quite frankly, you're gonna die. Your body regulates pH meticulously. Your blood pH is the most important pH in your body. Each system in your body, each area, each region is going to have its own pH generally. They're going to slightly vary, but your blood pH is probably the most important. And it doesn't need to be alkaline. I'm not going to lie to y'all. Alkaline is good when you're healing, but just to live, you don't need to be alkaline. And I'm saying that from somebody who lives a pretty alkaline life. I eat an alkaline diet. Like, I'm saying this as somebody who's a part of the movement. You actually don't need to be ultra alkaline. Your body's actually going to get sick from alkaline if you do it too much. You need balance. Balance is the key. You need acid in your body. Acids at the end of the day, all acid is potential hydrogen. When we talk about pH, pH stands for potential hydrogen. Hydrogen is a precursor to water. Hydrogen is a precursor to carbohydrates, sugar. All of these things, even fats, are literally hydrocarbons. They have hydrogen in them. That being said, your body needs to have abundant hydrogen. If you're reducing the amount of hydrogen in your body from having a high pH, your body's not going to function right, period. Even things like fats and things like that, those are called fatty acid, amino acid. These things have an acidic component that allows them to function. If you get rid of that acidic component, all of these things are going to exist in their basic state. So each amino acid kind of has a basic state as well. Each fatty acid has a basic state as well. But not every function of the chemical or the compound can function if it's only in the basic state. It needs to be able to switch between the basic and acidic. So this is why you need to have a balanced pH in your body. If you don't have a balanced pH in your body, like I say, you're going to get sick and you're going to die. I would try and aim for 7.5, 8 at max. 8 at max, guys. You don't need a super high pH. 8 at max, but 7.5 is like the sweet spot for pH, especially in the blood. Holy shit, I really need some water. But we're gonna thug it out though. What do I want to talk about next? We talked about H3O. We talked about sodium. Let's talk about minerals again real quick, but let's talk about minerals in the context of electron or electricity transport throughout the body, right? Hold on real quick. Let me read the chat. I know I'm straying away a bit, but learning metaphysics of things because of humans' negative thoughts affects the atmosphere. Exactly. Then and drives some of the illness. Aging rapidly is one of them. When humans thoughts were more positive in the past civilizations, they lived longer. But then there's the aspect of time. Yeah, I agree. Your thoughts can actually create acidity in your body. They can also create inflammation in your body. I'm still doing the research on how exactly that happens, but it's along the lines of, number one, your mind controls your body, period. We're just going to put that out there. Each cell in your body is in communication with your brain. If your brain is in a certain state and your brain is, said the mind is one hell of a drug, that's a fact. If your brain is in a certain state of being and releasing certain chemicals, a lot of these chemicals trigger the release of different acids in the body. They trigger the release of certain antibodies and things to fight off invaders that are not even present. They'll also trigger the breakdown of certain tissue, and the breakdown can often result in acidic components. If you're super mentally ill or you're having a lot of stress and your body starts breaking down tissue somewhere, um, that's going to release nitrogen into your body. And nitrogen often comes in the form of ammonia in the body. So, you're going to get sick. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to need to pee that ammonia out somehow. Even things like peroxide your body makes peroxide and breaks things down into peroxide, but peroxide, too much of it is highly toxic. I think peroxide is actually officially poison. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I would have to look that up, but it is poisonous, right? Your mental health controls all of this. Your mental health controls the release of chemicals, the breakdown of certain tissues in the body. It controls everything. So if your mind is not right, you're going to start creating inflammation in your body. And I experienced it firsthand. You feel me? I really did. I had a episode like maybe 4 years ago now, and I was extremely sick, mentally, physically. I had a lot of anxiety, and it literally sped up another thing that was happening with me. I had nerve damage in my feet, but the stress and anxiety from it kind of ramped up the nerve damage. Um, Ultimately, I healed that. Some of y'all know that story already, but you know, I was in a period where my mind was poisoning my body, literally. As above, so below. Everything that's spiritual is going to manifest into the physical. If your mind is poisoning itself, it's going to translate into the body. But we should all know that by now. Back to what I was saying. Um, the the minerals in your body, right? They facilitate your nervous system. So if you don't have the proper minerals, like I said, you're not going to be able to have motor function. You know what I'm saying? Like at the very base level, we have ATP, and that creates energy in our body. But that ATP needs to be triggered. It needs to be fired off in a sense. And all that is phosphorylation. So you know the ATP will kind of break itself off, and when it breaks off, it gives off this burst of energy, right? That process cannot happen without some sort of electrical impulse first. Um, if your body is not able to properly regulate these electronic impulses, or have a proper stream of electricity, you're not going to be able to fire your muscles, or they're just going to twitch. You know what I'm saying? That happens to a lot of people, especially when they get on certain supplements like CoQ10 and things like that. They start twitching. They think it's because they have a lot of energy, but really it's because their nervous system is not really able to regulate electronic impulses. Um, that happened to me too. Church, trust me, I know shit because that shit happened to me. A lot of shit happened to me. Um, and let's talk about the kind of anatomy, about the anatomy of your nervous system, just a tiny bit, without going too in depth. Your nervous system is covered in different minerals and different, vitamins, things like that. Even inside your kind of, let's say, your conduits. I don't know the actual terminology for it, but think of like a wire. A wire is made of copper. You have that same thing in your body, just with different elements. I believe it's going to be phosphorus and magnesium. Those two work together to make sure that the electricity can come and go. You know what I'm saying? So it makes sure that the electricity goes and it comes back. um you know One is positive, one is negative, and one attracts and then one pulls it back. That's basically how it works. If you don't have the negative and positive polarity of minerals in your body, you're not going to be able to have the proper circulation of energy, and your aura is going to be super diminished. A lot of people, you see, they have a poor aura, or they they just don't have a good energy about them. And a lot of times it's mental and spiritual, but on the physical level, it's because their physical body on the internal, it's not having the proper electron transport. Their electricity in their body is not circulating right. um when your electricity is circulating properly, even when you're at rest, there's things circulating, messages being sent. All this is going to produce an auric field. It's going to produce an electromagnetic field. Everywhere where there's electricity, there's going to be magnetism, and anywhere where there's electricity and magnetism, you're going to have an electromagnetic field. Electromagnetic field is just the space that electricity can travel within a certain magnetic field, right? Um, Let me read the chat. It used to be eaten regularly in the West. They somehow managed to trick people uh, not to eat organs anymore. Um, I don't eat organs, but I know that organs have a lot of minerals, though. Organs have a lot of vitamins and minerals, especially like liver. They have a lot of enzymes too that you need in your body. So if you want to take that route, I advise eating, uh, liver and things like that. I'm vegan, but I'm not one of those vegans guys. I'm not gonna tell you to not eat meat. Some of y'all, uh, you rely on meat, especially people that live in third world countries and things like that. um, they rely on meat because it's more substantial. You know what I'm saying? Being vegan is kind of a luxury, kind of, not really, not the way the modern world would kind of paint it, but being vegan kind of is a luxury in the sense that we can afford to not have to eat everything. We can afford to not eat anything by any means necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like we can afford to grow crops and eat those crops for nourishment instead of taking the easy route, which is killing an animal. That's the easy route because they contain more aligned nutrient profiles. You know what I'm saying? We are animals, so eating other animals is going to give us the nutrients that we need. But, you know, when you have a philosophy like mine, you don't really want to do that anymore. I'm not going to really push that onto y'all, but it is something I will promote because it's important, especially where the world is going. um, we're gonna see a lot more veganism because it's just easier on the environment. But um, yeah, like we were saying about the liver and like organs are super beneficial. So if you need to eat organs to get what you need, by all means. Um, for vegan, you just have to be on your game to get the nutrients. Yeah, you have to have variety. I eat more or less the same thing every day, but I have a kind of wide range of things that I eat in the day. So, I'm pretty straight. And I also have supplements just in case, I'm not eating the best for a day, but I never go like multiple days without eating right. You know what I'm saying? I'm very much home cooked. I like to cook from home. And, um, you know, I like to curate my meals very consciously, but I'm gonna start doing something different. I'll let y'all know what it is soon. It's kind of meticulous. I always come about with some meticulous energy, but I'm going to give y'all a method to make sure that y'all are getting what you need in your diet, whether you're vegan, carnivore, herbivore, whatever you need, omnivore. I'm gonna come up with a system, but until I do that, let's focus on what we're talking about right now. Actually, I pretty much talked about everything I want to talk about for today. Pretty much. Um, I'll answer some of y'all questions, and then we can get out of here. Honestly, I heard that being in love frequency equals life for the cells, and your declining process rapidly slows down, and our cells feel that life frequency. Whereas fear, stress, anger makes your cells die quicker. That's true. It's true. Um, when you put your body in a state of stress, your body is not aware whether anything is happening truly or not. You know what I'm saying? So for example, like if I went to watch a movie and it was a scary movie, that movie made me stressed out, my body doesn't actually know if I'm in a situation where I need to be stressed or not. So it's going to trigger hormones, it's going to trigger, different responses in the body that ultimately prepare for death. They prepare for fight or flight. They prepare for death. They start deteriorating your body literally slowly. Um, you know, ultimately, the body is kind of a self-preservative machine, so it's going to try and preserve itself as well. But um, it also is like a kind of a self-harm machine too. Your body constantly breaks itself down to build itself back up. So if your body is not able to control the way it breaks itself down, your body is literally going to deteriorate slowly over time. It starts with the brain. It starts in the brain. You lose certain regions of the brain. Your brain capacity goes down. Your body cannot communicate the way it used to. So certain parts of your body are just going to get left unchecked. It's as if like, aging is kind of like having an empire and the empire is constantly expanding, but it expanded to the point where now it can't govern its outer reaches. You know what I'm saying? Like Rome was a super big empire, but it couldn't govern its outer reaches and outer territories, so it ended up collapsing. Right? That's kind of like what happens in your body as you age. Your body just loses control over certain regions because you don't have the connection that you used to with the brain body connection. It's not what it used to be. And that happens naturally, but it can definitely be slowed down by being at peace. Um, exactly. Break down and recycle of cells, and that's another thing too. Um, a lot of people, they don't know that their body is a recycling plant. They think that you have to eat all day, every day. You don't. Your body actually recycles shit very well too. It's very efficient. I think at almost no, literally every step of every metabolic process in your body has some time and process set aside for recycling. Each part of your cell, each and every cell has a lysosome. That is an organelle that is dedicated to recycling. So your body knows what it needs and it'll hold on to what it needs. Your body knows what it doesn't need and it'll get rid of that. We are highly, highly advanced machines. Like I truly wish that y'all understood how advanced that we were without me even having to say it. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things I know about the body I can't explain. I would have to show you. Eventually, I'm gonna get like a share my screen and like show y'all materials like 3D images so that you can like see how all of these things work in the body. But for right now, this is just the intro class. Welcome. Thank you for showing up. But um yeah, back to the original point that we were making. The negativity in the body, it's not just the frequency. Like it's an actual hormone. Different hormones and chemicals get released in the body that signal your body to basically die. You're like, we're dying. You know what I'm saying? And if you're constantly giving that signal that we're dying, you're not gonna be in a good situation long term. What's up, GM? Um, what's the next question? Any more questions? I remember at one point I couldn't watch dramas, anime, or playful play stressful games. I felt it immediately, got more exhausted. Now I'm doing a bit better. I can handle it a bit. It made me realize however small everything takes energy. Exactly. Me too. I went on a fast from watching violent media because I just couldn't handle it anymore. I'm kind of back, but only for certain things. It has to have a good story and it has to be actually thought provoking. And I have to actually try to regulate my nervous system while watching it because certain shows do make you stressed out. I like to watch dramas and very cinematic shows. I'm currently watching House of Dragon. I love the Game of Thrones franchise. I love dragons. I love all of that. But that shit is very stressful. You know what I'm saying? Like watching certain characters do certain shit, it can really get to you. And your body, like I said, your body does not know whether that's happening to you or not. For all your body knows, you're in Game of Thrones riding a dragon, getting shot at by arrows, and about to get burnt alive. For all your body knows. You know what I'm saying? And that's just real. Um, a little guilty with that. I'm an adrenaline junkie, but rest is important from it to not fry yourself. Yeah, you can't fry yourself. Um, oh shit. Had to stretch out real quick. Um, any more questions? Any more questions before we get out of here? GM, you late, bro. No cap. It's all right though. I appreciate you for showing up. Was this recorded? This was recorded. Let me see if the recording is still going. Yeah, it's still going. Yeah. We're live on YouTube too. I haven't been checking the YouTube, but it looks like nobody's here. It's okay. Filters and water are important. Honestly, bro, and I'm not gonna dock that. I'm not gonna say that that's not true. Filters in your water are super important because water has all sorts of bullshit in it. But like I told you, you need minerals. You need minerals. Our water, our tap water, has a lot of minerals in it. Some of them are good minerals, some of them are bad minerals. But um, certain minerals that people lack, you can get it from tap water. I'm not gonna lie. Now, I'm telling you that I don't drink tap water. I surely don't drink tap water. I drink mineral water. But if you're not in a position to drink mineral water or spring water, then shit, go drink out the tap. But drinking, you know, water that's been purified with reverse osmosis, it removes everything. No minerals, no ions, none of that. That's not gonna hydrate you. It's not gonna hydrate you at all. Unless you are eating a diet that has minerals, then it can hydrate you. But drinking, you drink filtered bottled water, that's not bad. But just remember, you got to get your minerals in somehow. Naturally, our water is supposed to have minerals. That's why I drink spring water. Spring water has minerals built in. It has magnesium. It has chloride. It has sodium. It has bicarbonate, things like that. Super important. I think the filters that re-add minerals are in pH good levels. I've seen on Amazon. Yeah, those are good for sure. I drink tap, but I should filter and read the minerals. You should. You should. I drink the mineral water, or it's like spring water that has the mineral contents on the back of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm bougie. So, if you're in a position to do that, please do. That's like the best way to get your water. And you can taste the difference, bro. Like the way the water is structured when it has minerals is completely different than the way the water is structured. Like I told you, water, the charge of the water is going to depend. I mean, the structure of the water is going to depend on the charge of the molecules, right? So H2O is going to have the negative charge on one side and it's going to have a positive charge on one side. But there are different variations of this where your water, I mean your water molecules are going to be slightly negative overall or slightly positive overall, right? This is going to change the way the water is structured. So if you're drinking water and it kind of tastes like thicker or something, that's because it's structured water. You know what I'm saying? Like spring water is naturally slightly a little bit more viscous than purified water, not because of the minerals adding thickness to it necessarily, but it's because the charge of the minerals affects the charge of the water, and it's going to structure itself slightly differently, and it's going to come out a little bit thicker. You could tell when you have some good water because it's kind of thick, and it's it feels fulfilling when you drink it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't just feel like you're drinking air. You feel me? Some water tastes like it just feels like you're drinking air. You're drinking nothing. Um, if you relate to that, put it in the chat. I don't know if you can relate, but I do. I heard that when you spin the water, it revitalizes it. Drinking water in a glass is good too. Um, Spinning water, it can do a little something for the charge, but it's not going to change everything. But it can do a little something. If you're spinning it and you have like some sort of ionizer in it, or you have a electric kind of charge hitting the water, that's going to do a lot. That's going to do a lot. Um, but you need to have minerals in the water so that it can maintain the charge though. Um, Yeah, water had different tastes. Water heated from a bottle or microwave or pot all tastes and feels different. Yeah, exactly. What do you think about purified water? I just talked about that, but purified water, I fuck with purified water because we're blessed to live in a time where we have purified water. I'm just gonna say that. You used to have to take a gamble drinking out the river, and sometimes a river may have a period of it or a part of it that has still water in it, but then it eventually merges into the greater stream of that river. But you're still drinking whatever was building in that cesspool of the still water. You're gonna drink that in the river. So a lot of times you drink some parasites, or you might drink some bad bacteria from a river. That's what it used to be. We used to be taking a gamble, drinking from little lakes and rivers. Right now, we have purified bottled water, and that's a blessing. You know what I'm saying? I don't fuck with microplastics, but um, having purified water is a blessing. Now that I've talked up purified water, let's get to the bad things about purified water. Purified water has no minerals. It has nothing unless they add it back into it, which is cool. But it's not going to be as diverse of a mineral content. Natural spring water has the most diverse mineral content, um, unless they add a super super duper diverse mineral content back to the water. But then again, that's like more expensive. Why would they do that unless it's vitamin water or something like that? Um, Usually they're not going to do all that because it costs money. Uh, Alcohol was safer to drink than water. Exactly. They used to give beer to kids because you could get sick from drinking water. They were truly terrified of water, guys. I need you to know this. They were truly terrified of water back in the day. Like, water could kill you, bro. Like, they didn't take baths in medieval Europe. They didn't take baths for like 500 to 1,000 years. They didn't take baths. Maybe like once a year, maybe a few times a year they took baths because they were scared they were going to get sick and die. Dead ass. And although that had some truth to it, they could have took a little bit more baths. I'm not gonna lie. They was stinky. I would hate out of every time period, I would never go back to medieval times. Um, even the kings and the queens, like they were living like that too. Crazy shit. Only injections I've had before were B12 shots, and I got ill off that. Really? And I had to go do 2 sessions. That's crazy. B12. I just take the capsule or the pill. You put it under your tongue, and it goes straight to your bloodstream. Any more questions though? Any more questions? This is being recorded, so it will be posted onto my YouTube and the GFCC YouTube. And hopefully, I got some clips in here, bro. I'm gonna post these to my second Instagram account. I just made a second account where I'm gonna post more holistic content because that's more in line with my I want to say my overall life path. I know I come here spitting a lot of different topics, but I am a health professional, like I said, so I want to do more health talks with y'all. So we should stay away from swimming then? No. What makes you think that? Nothing. Everything for the most part, almost everything that we do in society is safe. 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 You could drink. You could not drink. You could swim in water. You know what I'm saying? Go swim. Moving still water is not good. Yeah, I wouldn't swim in still water, but even then, all they're gonna do is put chlorine in the water. Sometimes they put bromine in the water too. Um, it's just gonna make sure that the water doesn't grow bad bacteria or overpopulate with parasites and things like that. I rarely swim at pools though. I don't really swim at public pools. I would swim at the beach. The beach is cool. I would rather swim in the beach than the public pool, honestly. It's a big no here. The canyon pools, yeah. I always pay attention to the flags on beaches. They will tell you if the water is contaminated or not. Yeah, yeah. The beaches in California, I would say it's like hit or miss. Half of them are good, half of them are bad. But you can find some really good ones. Not everything is contaminated. Boy, I'm finna get some water right after this, y'all. I swear to God. I swear to God. Oh, I should have dropped my live link. No cap. I should have dropped it in the chat. But it's all right. Bro, about for dumb salt in a gallon of water law. Makes sense. I was just thinking that swimming can replenish one's energy too. It depends where you're swimming at. It depends where you're swimming at, but it can. I wouldn't swim in, like I said, I wouldn't swim in public pools thinking that it's gonna change your life. You're just gonna swim in a pit of piss, a pit of parts per trillion piss. I'm not trying to swim in that. Algae suckers. Oh, sucks. Yeah. Red bumps all up your leg and body. Not fun. Yes, effect. Swimming in a river, stream, or beach where the water is moving, like we said. Yeah, that's gonna be best if you want to swim. Moving water. Moving water. Bacteria doesn't have the opportunity to really set colonies in moving water because it's kind of always flowing and shit. Um, when water gets still, the bacteria can thrive because it's like having good weather to them. You know what I'm saying? Like humans can't live in a forever storm. We could, but it would suck. But if everything was like good weather every day, we would probably overpopulate the planet tomorrow. That ass. The conditions will be too good. And that's what it is when bacteria are in still water. They can overpopulate. They thrive. Also, don't swim near where there are factories upstream. Yeah, I don't do that either. You don't have anything else? All right, for sure. If nobody has any more questions, we can get up off of here. Sorry to y'all who joined late, but this is recorded, so it will be on my YouTube channel. I'll drop the link to my YouTube channel. It'll also be on the GFCC YouTube channel, so I'll drop the link to there as well. Um, I want to thank y'all. Much love for coming to the first holistic holistic health class. Um, We'll do one of these every Friday. I'll bring back the wealth class as needed, like I said, because there's still a few topics that I want to talk about, especially when it comes to like personal finances and like different financial moves you can make. But other than that, I'll see y'all later. Of course, I appreciate y'all for showing up, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Peace out.